On some other news, right? We have
Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima rumors going
DLC.
on. Right, yeah. So
Ikishima.
it seems like there's been some talk about a new DLC coming out for Ghost of Tsushima that's called Ishikima or something like that.
Ikishima.
Ikishima, but it's a standalone. So we're talking like what is it?
Miles Morales.
Red Dead, the zombie one that they
Yeah.
made that was like a standalone. The Gat from Hell that became a standalone. Miles Morales, which was a standalone, but
First Light.
it's not. It was, I guess it was perceived as a DLC, but in the developers Insomniac's case, they were saying that it was always a standalone or whatever.
Right.
It had just been labeled as a DLC expansion from
That's what they call it, right?
Expandalone. So Ghost of Ikishima, and it's supposed to be a piece of its own. It's supposed to be presumably as large as Miles Morales was, or Uncharted Lost Legacy. So a pretty full game.
Yeah.
Right? With just a bit more content on there. And a lot of the same stuff that you have grown to love, or, whatever that you.
Yeah, and it's supposed to launch this year.
So it's fairly soon, right? Within like the next 4 or 5 months. I mean, we don't have much left on here. So I definitely don't think it's coming out holiday season. I think it's probably going to beat it, like maybe by October or something like that.
Like it might be a whole new character too. Because you have Ghost of Tsushima, which is Sakai.
Yes.
But this is Ghost of Ikishima.
So what if,
which sounds
what
like
if
it's
Sakai
a different
just moved,
person
man?
in a different place.
What if he just relocated?
Maybe, but almost always in these little standalone DLCs, expansion
It's always a
loans,
different
it's
person?
a new person. Yeah, they
Well,
use.
Yeah, I guess so, because Miles Morales was Miles. It wasn't Spider-Man.
Lost Legacy,
and
it
then
was
Lost
that
Legacy
chick.
was the other woman.
First Light, it was the chick too, the blonde, the pink-haired chick.
Right.
So it just seems like
you're talking
that's
about Infamous, right?
Yeah, the standalone they had was
Right.
Infamous First Light.
Yeah.
Was the expansion loan,
Mhm.
and so like I think like that's the direction they're going. I mean, I'm excited for it just because I thought that Ghost of Tsushima should have been around 10 to 15 hours long. I thought the game was a little bit too long. I thought we talked about this. We got into this in detail that it got repetitive like very early. The same enemy types, regardless of where you're at in the game. Yada, yada, yada. We went through all that. Where I think like this excites me more because if it's more of like a fun size, kind of like snack size level game where I get all the cool parts of Ghost of Tsushima, but it doesn't overstay its welcome, then I'm excited. And I'm hoping that they stick to like the Miles Morales kind of like price tag and charge us $50 for it, so we get a little bit of a discount because it's a shorter game.
Right.
And I'm excited. Like I'm pumped. I'm looking forward because I loved Miles Morales. It's one of my favorites. I love the size. I loved everything about it.
Yeah, Miles Morales was a solid game.
I really liked it a lot.
The thing that I'm hoping for with this is and no offense to the actor, but I'm just hoping that they can actually capture if it is the actor or whatever, a new actor or whatever, that they can actually capture the right facial expressions and the feeling in that moment. It shouldn't feel like the character is not in the moment that's supposed to be appearing on the screen. You know what I mean?
None of it adds up.
Yeah.
Like, or even like he acts all emotionless, right? Like, but the world's falling apart around him and like it's hopeless.
Right.
And then like you go in there and you just wreck everybody like a machine. Like, what are you hopeless for, man? Like, no one can touch you. It just doesn't add up, right? There's that dissonance that takes place in that game that they don't quite hit very well. Yeah,
I just feel like the that they should have worked a little bit more on the facial mocap or something like that, because I felt like he was pretty stagnant. That and his voice should have been like
Absolutely.
Done a little bit different. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm not by all means a voice actor or anything like that where I could sit there and criticize too much, but I just feel like it was lacking just in that part for me to want to love that character more. You know what I mean? I thought the story was cool, but for me to enjoy like being that character, I feel like there was some things missing from it.
Absolutely.
So hopefully with this one, it gets me to love the character just as much as I enjoyed playing it.
I thought that Miles Morales was an improvement on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Not just like the length and tightness of it, but even the character. Like, I liked Miles better a little bit than Peter Parker.
Mhm.
Like, I like Peter Parker too, but
Yeah.
I don't know. He was just really a really good character. Like, just like I liked Rivet. Insomniac has done a really good job at like their tertiary characters
Right.
in these series, and so I agree. Like, I'm hoping that they can capture what Insomniac is doing and give us characters, because I wasn't really attached to Jin. I didn't feel like anything from Jin, honestly, until like the very last scene of the game when he was fighting his like stepfather or whatever.
Yeah.
That I actually felt.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like, okay, I see something there now. But up until that point, like, none of it made sense. None of it added up. The way he was acting, the way the world was falling apart, the way he would look, and even the way all the people interacted with him. They would say the same exact thing over again.
And even then with the stepfather thing, you know, his uncle or whatever that he was fighting, that was like different. You know what I mean? The uncle felt a certain type of way. He was giving off a better performance.
Yes, the uncle was giving off a better performance.
He made it a more of a heartfelt type of a battle. Like, this got to be done. So, you know, let's do this. And he teaching him a lesson while he's, you know, doing it and stuff like that. So I felt like, you know, that whole scene was basically carried on the weight of the uncle's back and not Jin, who's the main protagonist.
I think what I mean too is that was the first time in the game that I was feeling attached or emotionally drawn in.
Yeah. Right.
Where the rest of the game I wasn't really feeling emotionally drawn in, right? Like, he's this dishonorable shinobi who isn't allowed to do stealth, but at the same time, like, he has no choice. But he's like, it's just the emotions weren't connecting at all with me.
And I think that's probably also part of like a script writing too.
Yeah, but it wasn't as well written as it could have been.
Yeah, I just feel like the situations were uncalled for. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, I feel like the different moments that they put into it were just like unnecessary. It's like, why are you giving me so much grief about this when you see what time it is, and then you only give me these options?
Man.
You know what I mean?
Man.
The game didn't coincide with
agree.
it. If they had legit given you options to go in, you know, fighting, and you could do the whole game without ever shanking somebody in the back, then, you know,
I agree.
that'd be different. But
they just was,
I feel like that probably is like the real challenge, is to like go through without ever shaking somebody in the back. Like, if they didn't force you to do a tutorial on how to execute people behind
and not just
backs.
that, bro, it's so much easier. Stealth.
It's way easier.
The game is like asking you in every sense of the word, not just like forcing you in some instances, but like even like, look at how inviting it is.
Right.
You want to stealth me because look at how much easier.
There's 30 guys in a camp, but there's plenty of high grass and there's buildings that you can jump into.
And it's so much easier to kill everyone than fighting them all one-on-one. But at the same time, you're trying to make me feel bad.
Right.
Like, dishonorable. Is it? I was really annoyed with that, and that's why the score suffered. We talked about this. These are the main reasons why for us the score suffered. So I'm hoping with the tighter, smaller length game, you know,
they can
a
fix
different actress or actor
like
really helps, you know, make
I
this
hope
game
it's
feel
a
like
solid,
it goes take a long, good step forward.
Yeah, I hope it's a solid script and the storyline that we can follow after, and it makes sense. You know what I mean? I just hope it ain't some extra shit that they just decide to create. But I mean, I don't know if you have, but I still have not played. I have not popped in Ghost to play any of the extra DLC that they added and stuff like that.
The legend stuff.
I got to get on the legends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, once I'll find some time.
I love you, me.